So let's go to closing school. As a real estate agent, there's probably a couple of points where you're going to be a great closer. And that's going to be when you're actually making phone calls, trying to get the appointment. It's also going to be when you're with the buyer, trying to get an offer. And no doubt it's also going to be at the listing presentation. So let's have a look at those three individual circumstances and learn what you can do to be a great closer. Now, inside of the phone call, we know the last 10% is where all the closing happens. And what you got to think about is great questions. And if you don't ask, you don't get. Any chance I can come and see your place? Hey, based on that, what does that mean your place is worth? If ultimately we had a buyer, should we mention your place or should we sell them something else? You know what? I'd love to see your place. It'll give me a great idea on what you're looking for in the next one. And ultimately, that last 10% of every call you make has got to be that question where ultimately you try to get in front of the client. The next major situation is ultimately going to be with buyers. You're there, you're doing a great buyer appointment with a buyer. How do you actually find out if they want to buy? Hey, we're guiding $1 million. Do you see value at that level? Could you see yourself living here? Is this the style of home for you guys? And if you want to actually extract an offer out of them and close them on that, then what you've got to do is you've got to identify the 6 elements of an offer. So the name of entity that's going to be purchasing the property, the solicitor or the conveyancer that they're going to use, the 10% deposit and whether or not they're going to be paying that via electronic funds transfer or a bank check, then the conditions that might actually come with their offer. In addition to that, whether or not they're going to be in a position that they're going to be out there for a longer or shorter settlement date. And then finally, the purchase price itself. And if you can get all of those elements, then you're actually in a position that you can put that on the front page of a contract, and now you've actually got something to go to present to a seller. And then we then go to the final one, which is actually the listing presentation itself. And what we find at the listing presentation is that kind of this disease that everyone thinks that everyone should get a proposal, and I actually don't agree. I think that ultimately if the customer is ready to go, you should just sign them while you're there. And what's better in terms of a proposal, something in writing, or you being directly in front of them and signing that agency agreement. Now, the easiest way to do that is to ultimately make sure that when you're at the end of the listing presentation, go through all of the elements. Hannah, it's great to meet with you this evening. I just want to make sure I've got everything right before we finish up. Just in relation to the pricing, we've agreed at somewhere between $1 million and 1.1, and you'd love to head well north of that. In relation to the marketing, you want to go with our medium campaign for 6,600. You want to do that on our new Buy Now, Pay Later service. You wanted the open for inspections to be on Saturdays between 12 and 12:30. You wanted the photos to be taken next Tuesday at 5 p.m. And then we've got to look at the method of sale. You'd like us to book our best auctioneer on the 21st of next month at 12 o'clock, and I'll make sure we get them for you. In relation to the time, you want to move relatively quickly. In relation to the fee, you agreed the fee was going to be at 2.51%. And obviously, in addition to that, why us? So it looks like we've done everything, yeah? Well, then let's get to it, yeah? And what we've actually learned is that with great questions, great summary closes, and ultimately you can be a real winner when it actually comes to closing. Closing is not press hard 2 copies. It's not about getting rejection. It's not about being in a position that you're not going to win. It's about putting yourself in that position so that you can win because you're asking exactly the right questions at exactly that right point in time. And that's what great closers really do.